Welcome to Ugly Oysters. This video is one of a series of discussions based on Jordan Peterson's book, Beyond Order. Today we look at Peterson's chapter called, Do Not Do What You Hate. This led us to a discussion on such matters as individualism, collectivism, totalitarianism, and several of our own examples of idiocy that we have seen in our worlds. I have posted timestamps below if you wish to locate anything specific, and I do hope you enjoy the view while considering these important ideas for our lives.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
It was pretty hot these days in Vancouver.
Yeah, still.
Someone put egg outside and then it just got poached.
Oh yeah.
So there's poached eggs outside and doing this recording.
Yeah, amazing. So that was here in Vancouver, huh? That hot. It cooked the eggs.
50 degree.
Well, you know, when I was outside in the afternoon yesterday,
Yes.
I commented to my family, I said, this is what it feels like in Kuwait. It's like a big warm hug. We were in the shade, but it was still hot. And that's how it feels at night in Kuwait. When the sun's gone down,
I see.
you still feel like you're walking through a warm pool of water.
Yeah.
Yeah, so really hot.
Okay, so when in this hot air, we come to this fifth chapter, said don't do what you hate.
Yeah.
Also have lots of heat on it.
Yeah, maybe.
So, and it's the airplane.
Yeah, that's okay. Let him fly.
So it's kind of like it's Peterson's warning. So what do you get from this chapter? And what's your comment?
Yeah, so this is a different chapter. It's shorter than a lot of the others.
Mm-hmm.
And he just seems to write it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think what it is it's a long, extended example of what he's been talking about in the other chapters. Like he doesn't really say a theory directly, but in the example he raises a lot of issues as well that he doesn't
actually,
talk about directly,
like
but
extending of this don't keep the fog.
Yeah.
So don't afraid to not do the thing you hate. It's kind of a similar spirit there.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the previous
just
chapter?
To make yourself like clear.
Yeah.
About what you're doing. Like it's the similar feeling with this. Don't keep yourself in the fog.
Yeah, do not hide unwanted things in the fog.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking it was an example of noticing the opportunity that lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. So, so both you and I are understanding that this is somehow an example of what he's already been talking about.
Yeah. He kind of very, very wanted to persuade people, be real.
Yeah.
Like act on what you really think.
Yeah.
Don't be in the fog.
Yeah.
And don't do something you don't want to do, right?
Yeah.
So same thing, I just feel.
Yeah, so, but then the example he uses also raises issues.
Yes.
And so I think in some ways he's using an example based on his earlier explanations. But he's also foreshadowing something else he's going to explain later. But I think with this chapter, instead of trying to present his argument, which I normally do, I'd rather just talk about some of the details that come up. in his talking. I mean, basically the example that's being given is somebody's at work being compelled to do something they don't want to do, and he encourages that person to fight it. But it's not a fight over being unwilling to do low-level work, for example. Like he talks in an earlier chapter about you need to be willing to be a beginner.
Yeah, I know.
And he's saying, I'm not talking about fighting that. I don't mean...
more, talking about fighting with something like offend your principle.
Offend your principle, right. So,
like it's still not being true you.
Right. It cuts across your sense of what it is to be real. And he opens the chapter saying he had a client who had to face a constant barrage of idiocy, idiot behavior.
What's barrage?
Barrage is like bombing in London during the Second World War. A barrage is just constant. So then the question is, well, what is the idiocy that was so terrible? And so basically these people at work, they're trying to make their language inclusive. And they discover that they're using something that's very common in corporations and schools. It's a flip chart. It's a big pad of paper, and you write on the first page, you flip that page over to write on the next page. And it turns out that term flip was a put-down word of Filipinos at one time. So they spent hours talking about how to adjust their language about this chart so that they wouldn't use the offensive word flip. Never mind that in context it has nothing to do with Filipinos at all. It's about moving a piece of paper over, flipping, like flipping a coin. You know, the word flip has many independent usages, but they wanted to erase that word out. Anyway, this woman felt, this is such a waste of time. So offends my idea of efficiency and it's just kind of nonsense. The problem is, so many people at her work didn't think it was nonsense. They're so engaged in it. And what
they just try to wipe one word by another word.
Yeah. And what do you do when your income depends on living with these kind of people? And Peterson suggests through the chapter that it's even more than that. It's even deeper than that. But I want to comment on just this for now. And we can get to the deeper thing later. I just think this is like, I want to explain more why this is so idiotic. Because I have confronted this in my own circumstances. In my own family and work history, I've encountered these kind of people. And it...
very personal, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of personal. And it's frustrating that people can be so kind of addicted to it and righteous about it. So, first thing I want to say is, I think what people are trying to do here is they're trying to be sensitive. And I appreciate the willingness to be sensitive.
That's for the good purpose.
Yeah. But it won't work.
But why would they do it? They make it.
Yeah, that action, it won't work. I don't mean you can't be sensitive, but when you push it that far, it's ultimately going to fail. Because what they want to do is remove any risk of harm.
Mm-hmm.
And it won't work. I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one time I was wearing a new pair of shoes, and they're the kind of shoes that have a strong arch in them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite uncomfortable for my feet.
Mm-hmm.
While I was wearing those shoes, I was packing boxes and preparing to move.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was packing and preparing to move, all I could think of was the weight and burden of all the things that I'm lifting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my suffering.
Mm-hmm.
It was only when I stopped doing the work
Mm-hmm.
and just walked casually on the road that I noticed,
Mm-hmm.
oh, my feet are really hurting.
Oh, yeah.
Before, when
Good
I'm
example.
focusing on the bigger pain, I don't notice the smaller pain.
Mm.
But then when I'm not doing much, then the small pain suddenly becomes the big pain.
Mm.
And I realized that there's always going to be some pain. Always going to be something that is annoying or...
Mm-hmm.
And we can't get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I applied it to another thing, like, I think people who are kind of contemplative,
Mm-hmm.
sensitive people, they will feel more things.
Mm-hmm.
That means they're going to feel more pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, the more you withdraw yourself from the world, so to speak, you still can't escape the pain of the world. Like, you have to put your foot on the ground. Just putting your foot on the ground is pain in a certain sense. Just to walk.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So this attempt to eradicate pain, to me, ultimately, if you're going to follow it through all the way, it just means die.
Mm-hmm.
You can't live and not feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's wrong-headed altogether to try and remove pain and suffering or hurt, you know?
Just live in a utopian world.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it seems then solve everyone's pain.
Yeah, and it's just not gonna work.
Like
So
even wanted to get rid of the world, flip for that.
right, exactly. And so this is why, you know, Peterson calls it foolishness, and I agree, it's foolishness. You're just not gonna achieve your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's another reason why I think this sort of thing doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose, let's take another example. Let's just take a personal example. When I was in grade 2, people used to call me Pitts. It was a put-down word, especially directed to me, because my last name had the sound of Pitts. Like, if you reduced my last name, you could make it into kind of a mocking sound and say Pitts. And I was sort of a short kid, so they would make fun of me calling me Pitts. Okay. So if a well-intentioned person became aware that I used to be called Pitts, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Are they going to now tell everyone else, whenever you have the word pit, don't use it. You can't say armpit.
Yeah.
You can't say cherry pit. You can't say barbecue pit.
Yeah.
You have to think of some other word.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
To protect me. So, what does all this do?
Yeah, if you push it to extremely, so that's the case.
Well, one, it reminds me all the time of when I was in grade 2 and people used to call me Pitts.
Yeah.
So actually,
you have the same reason as the Philippine, the people, if they got offended.
Well, what it means is it brings the offense back to life constantly. It's like reinforcing it by drawing attention to it. You don't say Pitts, because it reintroduces the offense, because they'd say, oh, well, because you were always called Pitts, we're going to try to remove that word, we don't want you to feel, well, now you're reminding me of this terrible time.
Right.
Why we can't just call cherry pits pits and barbecue pits pits? Like, It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And also...
You reminded me of something.
Yeah?
It's like, for my daughter, we go to the place to measure her skirt or something. Then I just, because at that time, I don't know the word, but I thought, because in our translation, chubby, like a chubby, this word, it seems like a lovely, cute, a little bit fatness, but it's cute, like a baby cute. So in our translation, so I just say to the woman who measures, I say, oh, my baby is a little bit chubby, and she said, no, she's not chubby. And I think, why? I say, she is chubby, I think she will correct, no, not at all, right? Lovely. At that time, both me and my daughter, our English is not that good, so I just don't understand. So later, just recently, I just say, I still didn't improve my English, to that level. I say, oh, I remember that day, the lady seems don't like I call you chubby. And so lovely word. Why she don't want me call you?
Yeah.
Then my daughter now, her English proved. She said, "Oh, that's not good word. That means you are fat or something." I said, "But you already have the word fat to describe a fat. Why chubby also belong to that word?
Yeah.
Not good to me. Because our translation of chubby, this word is lovely, cute, a little bit, round or something, this kind of. So I'm not allowed to use chubby. So then I think, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So people just put the words to the category you're not allowed to use. Of course, I will not call a kid fat or something. It's not good. I know that. Then now chubby is not. So I say, so what's the word? Describe the cute, a little bit fatness, cute this way. She said, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to implicate any fat of
that.
Right. So I say, why? In our culture, some kids will use this fat, a little bit fat, cute, fat. The kids represent happiness and a good future or fortune. And it's not allowed here, And I felt I was deprived of something that I can express the good feeling of that kind of a shape of a kid. Yeah. Anyway, it's just a funny thing I remind of. I think, oh, they cut the word chubby for me and I don't like it. And then my daughter laughed at me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how you describe a person. You can't use fat, you can't use chubby, but you want to say it. So what you say? A little bit overfit?
Yeah, that's
but not
cute.
Exactly fit.
And in my mind, a chubby really is like, like a cuteness, a little bit fat,
Or you could say, can't quite fit her slim clothes, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, so it's pity, I just felt someone steal this chubby word from me to describe this kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's also part of the problem.
It's like we have fat.
Yeah.
And we have chubby, this word, like in Chinese. Yeah. It's separate, but chubby still means good. It's kind of good,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. You're not even allowed. So that's the other issue, is somebody is demanding your obedience.
Yeah.
They're making you restrict your vocabulary to suit their agenda.
Yeah, right.
And this is one of the things that really annoys Peterson and annoys the woman that was in this job.
Yeah, right.
Where does this authority come from?
Yeah.
And for what purpose? The other thing I want to say is this softness, this unwillingness to have a little bit of hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has educational implications. Like, I've been a teacher for many years, and I've noticed over the years how more and more and more the expectation is that the student should not have to struggle.
Soft, more
So
and more
soft. Oh, and it's making us weak. I remember.
That's because the university student, they already graduate age, they're still like a baby.
Yeah. I remember I went, I got a degree in North Carolina, and part of that degree in the summer was we went to something called the Chancellor's School. Chancellor's School was when the top students in various categories, art, science, PE, everything, all the different categories, the top ones were invited to come and continue to go to school for 6 weeks, basically give up their summer going to school. And for them, it was fun because they got to be with other people who also like to really learn, But I remember this guy was teaching math using the computers, and he was walking around and he was challenging them with a problem, and he just kept saying, he said, think until it hurts, You just push them. Yeah. Oh, you can't do that normally in a normal classroom. That's just like abusive. That's like taking a stick and hurting them, and that to me is just too weak. And so this emphasis on sensitivity, we got a helicopter around here somewhere. It's competing with us. It's like right nearby. That. Yeah, maybe anyway, we just keep going?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So there's that. Then the person who was in this job, facing this trouble, why was she annoyed? She was annoyed that no one seemed bothered that somebody was taking the authority to remove words from our language.
Yeah. It's kind of like a power game.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like about the words itself,
Right. And so then that's also the conclusion I came. It's not
how they take power they using this, showing the huge like the hypersensitive superiority.
Yeah.
To take the power away.
Yeah.
It's more sneaky than this jungle fighting, taking power away,
Yeah. Right.
More female way, actually. Not masculine way fighting, I got the power, but more like a feminine way, like secretly, actually, poach something and got some,
You think this is female way of fighting?
I think
You're
so.
a female, so I can ask you this.
I think so, like more indirectly, but actually still a controlling way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
By nice, by being nice, being sensitive.
Yeah.
Being superiority by I'm doing this all morality thing.
Yeah.
It's
funny. I don't know what that helicopter's doing. I mean, we're nowhere near.
Gone.
Okay. So, Peterson calls this activity hateful. It's really funny that he would call it hateful because it seems so caring.
Because he perceive it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he see what's behind it.
Yeah. It reminds me of a time when my mother came to visit our family in Thailand, and we went to a restaurant. And we came to the table, and I'm just ready to plunk myself down in any old chair, but my mother starts saying, "Oh, I wonder maybe you should sit here, or what do you think?" And then it becomes a discussion. she's asking, well, maybe you should see what your wife thinks. What do you think about sitting here or here? And I just think, what the hell's going on? We just sit in a chair. And so finally I just say, sit! And there's this shocked look on my mother's face, and she just drops on the chair. And also my son and my wife. Because it's so ridiculous. Like, why you need to talk about which chair. And to me, that's an issue of power. It's like somehow this is all so important. It all symbolizes something.
Yeah.
You know, like, why can't people just sit in chairs and eat?
Yeah.
Why it have to be about power?
Yeah.
Why would anyone take offense if somebody sat in one spot or another? Like, why is any of that important?
Yeah, right.
You know? To me, it's the same kind of thing. And I've encountered this stuff at work, too. And the thing is, Peterson, or maybe the woman, I don't know. I think Peterson talks about it somewhere where he just says, basically the reason people do this is because inwardly they don't really believe in efficiency. And maybe they're not even really capable of being efficient. So they go on these little side roads to try and elevate their own sense of goodness. Like, can you imagine a workplace that invests that much time talking about a word when they could be productively doing things? And this just gets to the heart of why so much inefficiency exists in Canada, and it's so annoying. So that's that issue. And then Peterson says, so with these things, with this, you know, like if it's about a word, okay, fine. Let's suppose you accept it. But when does it stop? What's the next word? And who initiates that? And what happens if you get into a game where you're trying to impress the boss over these sorts of things? Like, do we continue to ban words endlessly? Is that what our job is about now?
Yeah.
And Peterson keeps bringing up that the woman who was working there realized there was an ideology behind this. And Peterson brings that up several times in the chapter. Ideology, ideological blitz. But he doesn't actually get at what the ideology is.
Yeah.
So I feel in a way that's why I think this chapter is sort of pointing us forward. It's like getting us to put the question in our mind, you know, what is that about? And of course the next chapter is called Abandon Ideology. So maybe he'll get into that more in the next chapter.
I see.
So then, oh yeah, he does give a little bit of a hint about that though, because he talks about how this woman in this situation then fights this issue. She fights it indirectly. She does a kind of, I think he calls it rearguard action. I don't know if that's in here or not.
Get lecture outside or something.
Yeah.
Other stuff to feel the power of herself.
Yeah.
Like a be real self, actually, basically.
Yeah, she never directly confronted the flip chart issues. She just sort of went along with it. But she started challenging pseudoscience, fake science, and the kinds of sources that feed this ideology and cause people to act in this way. But he does give a clue, I think, where he's going, because she had opportunity to return to her own country and warn the citizens of her former communist country that the West is becoming totalitarian, as they once were, where you would be allowed to say certain things and not allowed to say certain things.
But it's interesting is in our politics class, our teacher always say, Like there is the jungle original human being, then the slavery society, then the feudal society, then capitalism society, then socialism society. And then we are in the socialism society because we are communist party lead our society, right? Then it's a way, like a capitalism where walking toward it.
So socialism is the highest achievement.
You guys is like walking to this way. It also indicates there,
It just means we're following the natural evolution.
Yeah, it's not indicates. It's like a rule.
I see.
A universal rule.
I see.
So it's not surprised that you go to this totalitarianism world. Just as.
But the highest is communism?
Yeah.
Is communism necessarily totalitarian?
Actually, communism never say that totalitarianism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
They just think it's a social. They call it social society, and it's a communism society. So it's the end of the evolution. The highest.
I see.
Yeah.
Well,
it's Karl Marx theory, actually.
In that case, yeah. So Canada has a lot of Marxist thinkers.
Yeah, this is Karl Marx system, I think. Yeah, I think just we adopt it.
Yeah, I remember when I was at university, every day I'd walk down the long hall and there'd be this big table of Marxists and they'd be passing out information.
Yeah.
I had no interest in it. I didn't know what it was about. I just thought they looked strange, and yeah, it kind of gave me the same feeling I get when sort of strange church organizations are trying to promote their.
I see.
Yeah, that was the feeling I had from it.
But they don't think that's the case.
Yeah, well, they're very eager to.
Yeah, they think they
get you to sit down with them
and talk
with them.
They are the final truth,
Yeah. So this not doing what you hate is really an issue for Peterson of conscience, not betraying your conscience. So then he talks about moving beyond order. So this kind of order, this ordering of what you can say or not say, to Peterson it's pathological order. It's evil order. And this kind of order, you got to bring some chaos too, and start disrupting it. Yeah, and this.
So he actually is not that much conservative jar. Like as their young people think.
Yeah. Not.
He's very balanced.
Yeah. Well, he is a certain kind of conservatism, but certainly not about this. He's quite willing to bust this up altogether. And but he also believes that before, this is not your social duty to follow these social rules because it's going against your conscience. But how do you know? Well, you must be the kind of person who's already really tried to fit the social rules until you realize that it actually has some kind of insanity there. Yeah. And so he says in this case you have to be the hero. You have to be a power unto yourself. He calls it the sovereign individual. And when you listen to your conscience,
right,
you become the disruptor of a blind and deadly social environment. Yeah. So then he just...
sovereign of self is the main issue of him, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think if you want to make a conclusion about his theory, I think this is
the sovereign.
Follow your heart.
Yeah.
Be your own self's master.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because you be your own self's master, so you don't do something you hate.
Yeah.
You don't make yourself be flogged
Yeah.
And you just be true. What is be true? Then like when you see disorder is kind of something not right, you try to destroy it.
Yeah.
Bring chaos, right? When you are in the chaos, which is not good, you feel not good, then you go out from the chaos to make order. So it's all talking about just to be the true self, who you are.
Yeah. 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 And then he just gives some practical advice when you're in situations like this, because if someone finds themselves in that situation, I mean, his basic idea is maybe you need to find another job, or maybe you need to resist. And so then he's got little sections at the end. Well, I might get fired. Yes, you might. So you need to plan for that.
Yeah, you have to pay the price to be yourself.
Right, exactly. Or I might have to move. Right, you might have to move. Maybe no one else will want me, you know? And so he just kind of, basically he gives some practical advice because this is a real issue. It's either you compromise yourself or you do something about it.
Right.
And if you're gonna take the hard but good way, here's some advice. And so he gives some suggestions about how to be, how to realistically face that challenge. Yeah. So, and then he, the other thing I would note, you also mentioned it, is he doesn't talk about the picture at the front of the chapter.
Yeah.
And I think, what do you think that is?
It's someone has a wing.
Yeah.
You know, kind of
Creatures with wings we normally call
angel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the angel appears to be
what?
doing what?
Saving you.
I would suggest he's falling.
Really?
Yeah.
This gesture doesn't seem falling. It's like a dancing.
Well, the look on his face is definitely he's looking at the viewer, and he's holding his hand out like this, which I would say he's trying to trance the viewer. And I would say this is the fallen angel. This is Lucifer, the once beautiful servant of God, becoming a servant of self, trying to raise himself up as his own godness.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Peterson is saying that this social goodness is really an attempt at trying to become gods unto ourselves. And it's deception. And it's going to fail.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not goodness. It's actually the opposite of it.
I see.
It's deception.
Okay, so why this related to this chapter then?
I think he's saying that this kind of stuff that makes you go against your conscience, it is fundamentally evil.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I got out of that.
Okay.
How about you?
So, to me, I just feel it's there is another issue, you know, from this chapter for me to see is Peterson is Canadian.
Yeah.
So Western.
Yeah.
So he kind of using this. His base is individualism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why you need to listen to your conscience.
Yeah.
You not listen to Big's conscience or the emperor's conscience or queen's conscience. You listen to your conscience. So this like he has the base of individualism.
Yeah.
Because the individualism, so you need to think what you like, what you hate.
Yeah.
Like who you are, don't hide in the fog.
Yeah.
So I think the base of his is all individualism.
Yeah.
Well, let's suppose the people, he don't believe in individualism. Like for example, like recently, It's close to July the 1st, Canada's birthday. Also, Chinese Communist Party's birthday. 100 years birthday for
July
Chinese.
1st, the same date?
Yeah, 100 years for Chinese Communist Party birthday. So they have a huge celebration in China right now. So yesterday I just see a video like about we call out the chairman of China, call him Big Big. So Big Big is giving the medal to 29 person was elected from the whole country, represent the good Communist Party member. So he gave medal to these people. So and these people feel it's so high, honored. And I saw lots of people, sending this kind of a video on WeChat. And then also they show the honor to this kind of a people. Why? Because they kind of sacrifice themselves as a break of the Great War. They're doing things for goodness for the society without self even, And this without self is high praised in China. Like you sacrifice yourself, you kind of follow your heart is not praised. Follow their country's benefits, this heart is being praised, So the base is collectiveness. So the base is like when you are one break of the Great War, you are high evaluated. And then your life have meaning, have sense. So this is the basic difference, I grew up in that kind of a culture. So for me, I always will think, what can I do for our country? What can I do for our people? It's kind of like we always think this big issue. Even we're just a pupil, 7 years old, 11 years old, like all in my mind, or some of my classmates' mind, we all think big thing. We never think small thing, like about ourselves. What color I like. I don't think of this issue. I would think, how can I save the people around the world, So when I grow up, when I just gradually build up my own sense, I just start to, look back at this and it seems it's ridiculous. I even don't know what color I like. How can I save the world? How can I save the people from the world? But I mean, it's there. Like it's deeply in our blood. So while you listen to Peterson's word now, in this age, I would think, oh, I never heard of this kind of a talking. And it's so good. Of course, you need to be yourself. Then you decide if you want to be a break or not. But then you see, like most people, they don't have this premise of individualism premise. They never think, I'm myself, I only felt it's similar in Western society is church. When I come to Canada, I feel there is a similarity between our country, this ideology, similar as Canada is the only place I can find is church. Like the church will tell people, you being the container. You're just a container to contain God's words through you. And you do things for goodness, for God. But in our country, we are kind of tell, you are the nail, you are the brick, or you are the container. You listen to the words, maybe from Chairman Mao or now Big Big, or from Chinese Communist Party. You listen to the words and you devote yourself for the goodness. What this Big Big tell you, what Communist Party tell you, whatever who tell you. So I think there is a similarity I see there. But somehow I still will feel touched and moved when I saw these people. They kind of sacrifice their own individual life for this big picture. it's kind of a very still dignity there, or there's still goodness there. And there's still something I feel have the bond there, Seems the life is bigger by being in a collectivism thinking. And you feel you are more meaningful or significant than you just be an individual. Because individualism thinking and talking, very rare in our culture.
Yeah.
Even before it's a bad word. Like, someone is individualism, that means he is bad, selfish or something. So about this difference, what I said, what's your thinking or comments?
Well, it goes back to the question I asked before. Does communism have to be totalitarianism? Because Peterson's issue, I don't think it's communism he has an issue with. Although you're right. I do think he is an individualism based thinker.
Yeah, but I think if the other people, you don't have the foundation of individualism. For example, another people who has the collectivism foundation. So what kind of book he will write?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what he's challenging here is totalitarianism, where there's an absolute rule that everyone must follow. Basically, totalitarianism is not only must you think the same, you must feel the same, and you must act the same. It's total conformity. That's why the word totalitarianism, But you mentioned...
So you think this about this flip chart thing, it's also a small step toward to that totalitarianism?
I think that's what he's suggesting. It's another step on the road to everyone must talk the same, think the same. And you, in this kind of situation, you can't even really disagree without looking like somehow you're a mean person. What, you don't care about the Filipinos?
Kind of use morality to kidnap you.
Yeah, kind of use morality to kidnap you.
And then to let you conform to it.
Right.
Then they have the power on you.
It's like all these people talking about how to improve society by being more sensitive on this word, and you're not going to join in on that? You must be really selfish, Yeah, so rather than thinking that maybe there's just better things we could be doing, like, everything is degrees of goodness. And maybe this flip chart issue is much lower on the levels of goodness than actually doing something productive. But you also mentioned that the closest thing you can find to this kind of communal thinking in the West is in church.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do think the interesting thing is the Christian teaching is more fluid than a brick in the wall thinking that you mentioned, Like Paul talked about each of us being members of one body. And I can't remember the exact words he said, but the implication is some of us are the eye, some of us are the nose, some of us are... So each of us has our individual contribution. So it's not like everybody should act like the eye. There's not this totalitarian approach. There's still an individualism because...
Not the same container. Different size of container.
Right, like the hand can't
but
say
still
to the eye...
container.
Yeah. The hand can't say to the eye, I don't need you. And the eye can't say to the hand, I don't need you. They all need one another for the overall function of the community. So, like, this is what attracts me to Asia, not just China, Asia, is these family values, these community values. I think these... Together we're a team. Like, even I've mentioned before the work that I did in Korea, I felt like we were all in it together. If the job succeeded, it was all our success. If the job failed, it was all our failure. So you didn't feel like It's just one individual's responsibility.
But it may at the price of the sacrifice of individualism thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you want to pay the price, you know?
Well, so to me, this chapter is not about individualism versus communalism. I think this chapter is about anyism versus totalitarianism. Peterson is an individualist. Agreed. He's not arguing for individualism. He's arguing against totalitarianism.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like, the base for his argument is he has this individualism base.
Yeah.
It's kind of the base will supply the bullets what he need.
Yeah.
I mean, he still produced the individualism bullets
to
fight whatever he want to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, like in totalitarianism in China, you really have this kind of like what you desire, a family bonding together, close with each other, you know, this caring, this feel like one body thing. So it's totalitarianism, and it's also collectivism. I mean, collectivism will produce, like push to the extreme, become totalitarianism.
Yeah, but then it's extreme, and then it's bad.
Yes. But I mean, it's the way. If you choose collectivism, like if you choose collectiveness instead of individualism, you're definitely on the way to marching to that totalitarianism. That's the highest level. Well, and you can't stop that marching, you know?
Well, that's the thing. Everything has a risk. And if you're so much individualistic, then you need to be balanced by some communitarian thinking, say, or communal thinking.
So,
but if you're
in this case, maybe
thinker,
we also should be, say, individualism, collectiveness, maybe also have the balance, like order and chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I believe so. Individualism and collectivism has to have a balance. But in any case, totalitarianism is wrong and bad.
But still, actually, I think this thinking maybe is too naive. Because they said two opposite things. How can they bind it together? There's two opposite thinking. So why you don't want to do something you hate? You already violate this collectiveness thinking. In collectiveness thinking, you can sacrifice yourself, your opinion. You're not willing. So you have to do what? You have to put yourself, individual, in a fog. Pretend not see. Or trust yourself to do something you hate, maybe.
I don't think so.
Okay, so tell me how you don't think so.
I think the Christian teaching has the balance.
Yes.
Cells in a body, not bricks in a wall. So very early in the production of human cells, all the cells differentiate. You get suddenly from one basic cell, the body suddenly develops a bunch of different cells. Muscle cells, brain nerve cells, etc. The body is full of individualism. Yet it's still a community of cells. So I think biology in a physical body shows us the balance between
individualism and collectivism.
Exactly. Because they're all working for the one purpose,
and the
to
body
achieve
is
what
alive.
Right.
This way we're alive.
Right, but you can't give each cell the job of the other cells. That's just insanity.
If some cells getting so big and eat other cells, like the cancer, the body will dead.
Yeah.
So if individualism got so big and so possessed in a way, so you go dead.
You could say the cancer cells are the only cells in the body that are completely independent of the function of all the other cells. All the other cells are interdependent with the body. The problem with cancer cells is they're independent completely. So I think Peterson is arguing that you need to be one with the body. You need to adjust yourself to society. Unless you're being required to become all the same cell. It's like going back to the very first hours of being fertilized. It's like going back to a state of real immaturity if you think of it in biological terms. And he said that can't be. Can't do that.
This is a good metaphor, though. I mean, body.
The body, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a Christian metaphor. And that metaphor can be taken to one extreme or the other, you know, but basically the balance is there in an image of the body.
So good. Yeah, I always have this thinking about individualism and collectivism because I grew up in collective thinking. And now just feel so oppressed, you know. So then try to seek some air, for yourself to breathe. Then I met individualism. And I think it seems it's the final answer for the journey. But then I felt seems still not right, you know. Kind of when you are being that way, you cast away the good thing of the collectiveness.
Yeah.
The bound feeling, you know. The
It's
goodness, like everyone belong to somewhere.
It's like the one cell wanting to pull away from the body and be independent. And it's just not going to survive without the body. But another thing...
But still, you know, this way, like, when I saw Peterson's premise is individualism, it's also opened another window for me. Like, not put his words like God's words, like he's just a kind of a theory of his own. Yeah.
But the other thing is, too, you know, what is the body to which we belong? I have a history of a rather disunited family. So I don't have a particular bonding with my own family. So that's not there. I never really felt particularly affiliated with my own country. Like, I don't feel an obligation to try to improve my country the way you talk about it.
Yeah.
To
we
me,
always have the feeling for the country, just like you have the feeling for the family, for your mom, you know?
Well, you can say that.
Yeah.
I can't say that.
Yeah.
I can't use that example like you have a feeling for your mom. What I feel, though, is when you're talking about what can I do for the country, I've always felt myself, and I've asked myself the question, what can I do for the world? To me, the world is the body to which I belong. And so when one country begins to turn against another country, I feel that's like a cancer cell. I feel like that's where individualism of countries is dominating or trying to usurp its role in the body of the planet, the human body.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And the human body, if it were to come under one world government, say, I'd call that totalitarianism. It can't be a kind of official bonding. It has to be a natural bonding that may have some official structures like bones, but not the entire thing. You know?
Yeah, right. It's like this, there is a Japanese show I watched with my daughter. There is a bond, then it was called totalitarianism, you know, everyone actually so suffered. Yeah, so when you loosen it, when you loosen the bond, Actually, everyone gets the freedom, including this God who creates the bond.
Yeah.
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 So there still need to be the balance.
Yeah.
This, yeah.
Yeah. I just don't understand anyone who takes a totalitarian view of things. It's like saying every plant needs to be a cedar tree. Anything that's not a cedar tree is not good enough. Rose is not good enough. It's got thorns.
Well, it's very popular in China. Like a kid who is not good at math, it's not good kid.
Yeah.
It's very totalitarianism
thinking. And I just think, well, what kind of life do you really want to live? You mean you want everything to be brown?
But when you are in this kind of environment, I mean, it's very easy to be influenced.
Yeah.
It's not that, we are not that strong, as an individual.
Yeah. Maybe.
So somehow I really admire Peterson because he wanted to assert his voice so clearly. So, like, if he said these kind of words in China, he may already in jail, I think. But also in Canada, he also faced a lot of people, fight with him or something. He still suffers.
Yeah.
I think I saw his psychology go worse because of all this fighting from the people. So he also carried the burden, He fight for this, just to try to be real. And for this reason, I really admire him. His courage.
Yeah, he came very close to getting fired. And there really is a pressure in Canada to conform your language to required words.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start requiring certain words, that's requiring thought.
Yeah.
It's limiting your thought to just those words.
Yeah, right.
And
I agree with him, actually.
Yeah, and I hate that.
Yeah, it starts from the small thing.
Yeah, it starts from the small thing and it gets bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, cancer also starts from several, small cells, then come to all the body.
Yeah.
Need to be careful and watch out. And he just remind us to watch out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So don't do what you hate.
Yeah, good. Thank you for today.
Yeah, thank you.
And with the helicopter, I still feel it's good.
Yeah, I think so too. Just let life be life.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, see you.
Yeah.
That's it for today. Come back and check out some of our other videos. Please put your comments below. Hit like and subscribe with notifications if you wish to join in conversations with us on other topics.